Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Graduate School's Professional Development Series. My name is Nick Matar. I'm the Director of Marketing here at the Graduate School. You'll see we're recording this, and we also have closed captioning available for you as well. What I had heard last week, really quick, as a quick update, some people, myself included, if you see the text, the captions at the bottom, sometimes that will cause people's computers to freeze and their Zoom to essentially stop. You can hide the subtitles if you need just by clicking on the More 3-button menu on the far right, and then click Hide Subtitles, and that should eliminate that issue. I've had that issue a lot in the past, but I just wanted to get that out there quickly because I got several of those emails last week after our conflict management series session. So really quick, before we start this session, just a quick reminder. I mean, most people here are doctoral students, given the nature of our event today. Hopefully, some of you will be participating in the Graduate Research Symposium, March 8th through 10th. If not, be sure to register to attend and watch all of your esteemed classmates research, and hopefully you'll be able to stick around for Thursday's 3-minute thesis and see the awards that we'll be handing out in the noon hour there on the last day. So I just wanted to give a quick plug for that before we get going today. Also coming up next week, we have, I believe it's Conflict Management Part 2 with Laura Lee Keishley. And then after that, we're going to have a little break for the Graduate Research Symposium before we pick up the series again in mid-March. I believe it's after spring break. We'll be back on the schedule. So be sure to check that out on the Graduate School website. We have a smaller, more intimate setting today, given our focus and topics today. And we have two I'm really happy to have our two speakers here today are going to have some good insight. And I think between their two areas of expertise, all of your questions should be able to get answered. First, we have Tracy Neumann from Department of History. She's going to be kind of leading the charge. And we have Todd Leff as well from the School of Medicine. Between the two of them, hopefully all of your IDP questions will be answered, and anything at all that you have that you're wondering about, that you're curious about, we'll be able to tackle those for you today. But I'll go ahead and turn it over to Tracy, who I know is going to has some slides prepared, and from there, you can feel free to put your questions in the chat or however Tracy wants to do it. I'll be monitoring the chat as well in case there's anything that I can assist with. But otherwise, Tracy, go ahead and take it away.
Great, thank you. And while I get my slides up, I'd be curious to know what departments people are coming from. So if you want to drop in the chat where you're coming from, that would be great. And I could take a look at that. Get playing here. And I'm going to invite Todd again to jump in at any point if I say something that is not right for STEM fields, because I am coming from the history department. I am very confident in my advice to social scientists and humanists, and significantly less confident in folks who are working in the hard sciences. Okay, you are here to learn how to complete your IDP. As Nick said, you're probably mostly PhD students, since this is required of PhD students. However, if there are students here who aren't PhD students, I'm going to be talking quite a bit about some career planning tools that you can use, that anyone could use. They'd be even useful for an undergraduate to think about, although the undergraduates might not have the same wide range of skills graduate students do. So what is the IDP / annual review, the AR IDP? So it's an electronic form that you access through the grad school website under the forms section. You've probably all filled out forms there. You'll fill it out. It'll go to your advisor and your graduate director eventually. is due October 1st to the graduate school. Some departments have earlier internal deadlines. Mine does in history. I require them to be in September 15th, mainly so I can make sure they actually are into the grad school by October 1st. So you should keep an eye out. You'll be told, presumably, if that is also true in your department. So you will only be filling out one form that is really two forms in one that serves two purposes. The annual review asks you to list your accomplishments over the past year in terms of sort of meeting your program requirements or benchmarks, as well as talking a bit about how much teaching and research experience you've gained, what kinds of publications you have, grant writing success, this sort of thing. And your advisor is going to evaluate the annual review section of the form for your degree progress, right? Your advisor will want to know if you're doing the sorts of things your department expects of a student at your stage in your degree program. If you're not where you should be, your advisor should let you know and have a conversation with you about how to get you back on track. So this is sort of a summative and retrospective evaluation, right? It's evaluating things you've already done. The IDP, on the other hand, the individual development plan, asks you to discuss your career goals and assess whether or not you're gaining the skills you need to achieve them. The IDP will ideally lead to a yearly conversation with your advisor or with a career mentor, if it's not your advisor, about your interests and your values and how to build a career in your field that will really just let you live the life you want to live. And I'm going to focus on that a lot today, how you might want to think about professional development and career planning in terms of your broader life goals. So in this way, the individual development plan is a formative and prospective process, right? It's shaping what you're going to do next in your program. So this is the annual review form, and I just wanted to show it to you very quickly here. It's sort of, it's not going to look like a PDF. It's all one scroll screen when you're in the form itself. Oh, oops. Sorry about that. It's all of the sort of stuff you would expect on an annual review, right? It's asking for your name and student ID, your GPA, what kind of funding you've earned used in the past year. It asks if you've been teaching at Wayne State or elsewhere in the past year. And then it asks you about publications, presentations, and any professional development events you've attended, like this one you could list, as well as the program benchmarks that the graduate school cares about. Why is this jumping ahead on me? I was saying just before this started, I usually use Keynote and use PowerPoint, and apparently I am paying for it by not being used to the PowerPoint interface. So I did want to mention that your department may require supplementary annual reviews. The history department does. This annual review doesn't tell me everything I want to know about my own PhD students. So we have an additional form that they fill out and email in. You may also have this. Again, you should be told about this. You might want to ask if you are unsure. And then the last thing I wanted to say about this annual review form is I wanted to mention this ORCID ID because I wasn't sure everyone would know what an ORCID ID is. Is anyone familiar with the ORCID ID? Have you used this? Yes, Tiara, you've used it.
Oh, yes, I've used it.
Yeah, so what is it? What's the ORCID ID?
So it's basically, sorry, one second. It's basically like a number that is assigned to you that keeps a track of your publications. So when you go to orchidid.com, you can register, so to speak, to get a number and kind of fill out like resume type boxes, like what your current employee status is, where you work, where you have worked. Similar, but not as in-depth to what you would do on LinkedIn, for example. And you can attach your ORCID ID to your publications and it'll populate them as you publish.
That was a very great description of that. Thank you. I had not set one of these up for myself until I had to publish I published recently in a British journal and they require you to do it. But it is quite nice. And it's nice in particular if you think you might be publishing under multiple names for some reason, or if you're changing the way you use your name. But I just wanted to mention that because my students never know what that is and they're always asking what they're supposed to put there. So that's what that is. Leave it blank if you don't have one. Consider setting one up because it will probably be useful to you down the road. So I think the annual review aspect of the annual review IDP is pretty straightforward, but I wanted to ask if you have any questions on this stuff in particular. before we move on to the more complicated IDP. You can always ask at the end too, if you think of something. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no questions here. Okay, so I want to talk next about the IDP, and this is where I'm going to spend most of my time because I think this is the part that is the most useful to you, that can be the most valuable to you. The IDP is meant to be a career planning tool. It's an annual opportunity to reflect on the kind of career you think you want, and like I said at the outset, how that relates to other things you may want in your life in the future. So I just want to walk through this form as well very quickly. It's only one page of the 4 pages of annual review materials. The first thing I will ask you to do is pick your primary, secondary, and tertiary career objectives. This is not very elegantly designed, but here's what those look like. Here are your options that you were given. I'm going to say, as a historian, these are not super useful to the humanities and social sciences. So pretty much always, other than academic research or teaching, other is the box my students pick, and that is fine. And I would say too, like, just because I know Todd and other folks at the grad school, we should probably talk about these boxes. This also doesn't reflect academic teaching at a community college and academic teaching at a research university look very different and are sort of different career paths in certain ways. So you're going to pick those career objectives that match the closest to what you're actually thinking of, or just pick other for perhaps 2 of your 3 boxes. But I did want to throw that out there, that other might be the appropriate option here. And then the next boxes are the ones that I really want to focus on. They ask you to discuss your career goals, to evaluate your strengths and weaknesses, and then to think about what your professional development goals are for the year ahead, what you're going to do to sort of improve on areas in which you need improvement or make some movement towards reaching your ultimate career goal. The thing that I really want to focus on here is, if I had to fill this out as a graduate student, I'm pretty sure my reaction would have been to roll my eyes, not know why I had to do it, and just write down the first 3 things that I thought would make my advisor happy, right? Like, I'm pretty sure I would have said that all of my specific goals were to publish more and get more grants, because you can't go wrong there with your supervisor. I want to encourage you not to do that. You can do that, right? But I really want to encourage you not to do that, and take some time to really work through these questions. I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't take this seriously. I think it's a real opportunity that Wayne State is providing its students to have meaningful conversations with their advisors, or start meaningful conversations with their advisors about their career goals. And it's a set of tools that you can use to keep yourself on track. So we are going to proceed as though you all want to take this very seriously as a process, and talk about some ways that you might do that going forward, if I can make my PowerPoint work. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about getting what you came for and how the IDP fits into that. The PhD is a means to an end. You guys are probably all here because you're really passionate about your field and about your research topic, but eventually you're going to need to finish up and get a job. And the PhD is the credential that you will use to do that. You can build meaningful careers in many ways in many sectors. This is one of the things that I want you to take away from this presentation. Even if you came to school thinking you want an academic career, and even if you're going to go out there and pursue an academic career, depending on the field that you're in, that might be harder and harder year over year, right? I'm a US historian. I think there were 10 jobs in the country last year in American history, right? Some fields are just not hiring in academia. You may have actually come thinking you want to go work in industry at the end of the day anyways. And so teaching is you think of teaching as a distraction. Some of you may find that you thought you'd love teaching and you don't. So you definitely don't want to go into a career where you would have to teach. Or, something else has become very interesting to you over the course of your study, and you want to pursue a career goal that you weren't thinking of at the outset. All of that is fine, and you can find meaningful work in a whole bunch of places. I also want to address sort of a common misconception among graduate students that faculty members won't take them seriously if they want non-academic jobs. This used to be pretty universally true. I would say when I was in grad school, even, this was universally true. faculty attitudes have changed significantly in recent decades. I think this is true across disciplines, although there will be individual faculty members or departments that, that perhaps do not feel this way. But my sense from my colleagues at Wayne State is that most people want their students to do something that they enjoy and that allows them to, you know, use their skills, the research skills that they have learned at Wayne, and to, you know, build the kind of life they want to have. Like, so you should not feel that you need to replicate your advisor's career, and you should feel okay exploring other options if that's what you want to do. And that sort of leads to my final point, which is, you know, it's your life and you're the only one who can decide what you want it to look like. It's really hard in the throes of graduate school, when you have so much work to do all the time, to step back and think about what you might want that to look like. And this is why I think the IDP is a really useful tool. You're being forced to do it anyways. You know, you have to do this every year or someone's going to put a registration hold on your account. So if you put a couple of hours into it, it can really help you plan for your future. In that regard, I want to talk about two tools that I highly recommend as you are filling out your IDP, or using in advance of filling out your IDP, at least for the first time. The first one is Imagine PhD, which is designed for humanities and social science students. And the second is My IDP, which is designed for folks in the sciences. And these are online career and professional development planning tools that will ask you a series of questions that will help you fill in those boxes on the IDP. So I was saying before the session began, I actually sort of tried to create a My IDP account and see what the one for scientists looked like, but it did not go well. So we are going to stick with the examples from Imagine PhD for the humanities and social science folks, but the general tenor of both of the sites is the same. They're helping you do the same sort of thing. But my examples are just going to be pulled from Imagine PhD. Okay, so the Imagine PhD is a series of assessments. There's an interest assessment. And you can see I've taken this several times because I use this in the class that I teach. A skills assessment, and there we went to the wrong page again, and a values assessment. The interest and skills assessments are pretty straightforward. The interest assessment asks you to rank on a scale of 1 to 5 how much you enjoy particular kinds of work-related tasks. The skills assessment asks you to rank a bunch of different skills that, and they consider skills things like foreign language skills, statistical analysis skills, budgeting and planning, making persuasive arguments. These are all examples of the sorts of things they would list as a skill. And you rank your proficiency from no experience to really good at this. And then the values assessment is the one that I really want to focus on, because I think this is the thing that we don't get a lot of time to think about as graduate students. The values assessment asks you to think about what you want your day-to-day work environment to look like. The questions, this is only a small portion that's on the screen of the questions that you'll be asked, but you can see it is asking you to rank the importance of a whole host of things, ranging from, you know, I am very concerned about financial security, to I want to be recognized as an expert in my field, to I want to work in an environment that has a strong sense of community. And again, these are the questions I don't think you get asked to think about a lot. You get asked about your interests and skills a lot, but you don't get asked a lot about what you like in day-to-day work. And so you'll fill this whole questionnaire out, and essentially what it will do is tell you something about the type of work environment, like the factors in a work environment that will allow you to thrive. And so, you know, for example, if you really like spending time in a lab and writing, those are the things you really enjoy doing all day, academia absolutely may be the right spot for you. If what you value the most is mental and physical health and financial prosperity, and you're a humanities student, academia may not be the right spot for you for those sorts of things, right? So once you take all of these assessments, you end up with a list, and I've sort of screenshot a couple of them, where it says writing, publishing, and editing on the left screen. This is one of their career families, and there are a whole range of them. Some of the others, some of them are faculty, right? Some are things like human resources, marketing and development. There's probably 15 of them. And it matches you up with which career families you fit with best. And it shows you how your key interests map onto what people who work in those fields say are the most important things in their field. And then you can click where it says learn more about the range of work and careers in this family, and it will take you to the page on the left where you can learn more about very specific types of jobs. It will list job titles in this career family. You can explore kind of first-person stories of people working in these careers where they talk about their jobs and what they do with their jobs. You can connect with professional organizations in that job, the career family. The build skills section will actually take you to places where you can do online courses to build common skills, or list types of courses you might want to take as part of your coursework to help you build skills for that field. And then apply takes you directly to job postings in that field. So in about 45 minutes on this website, you can get 6 job families that fit your interests, skills, and values, and figure out where you can learn more about them. It's not very time intensive, and might really, I think when I have students take this for a class, and they're often really surprised, particularly at what the values assessment tells them. What they really value when they're forced to rank it is not necessarily what they think they value. And so I think it's a worthwhile thing to do. And the science one, again, is very similar. My IDP is very similar. Jumped ahead one more slide. So this is my recommendation for how you approach your IDP. I would suggest working through these assessments on My IDP or Imagine PhD, and then spend some time thinking about your results and looking at career paths. And at that point, you might want to talk to your advisor or your career mentor. And you may have noticed I've used advisor or career mentor. Both. Your advisor may not be the best career mentor for you. They may, but it is often the case that faculty members have not had significant work experience outside of academia. Some have, but many have not. And so they feel ill-advised to advise students who want to pursue other careers. So it's absolutely appropriate to talk to other faculty members in your department, talk to alumni of your programs, talk to people you know through professional networks about what you're finding out about the career paths you're interested in. And at that point, that's when I would go back and start to complete that IDP and think about how you're going to build professional development into your work plan for the year ahead. And again, like I said, this is a couple hours total in a year. And I want to run back to that IDP slide here real quick to fill out 5 boxes. But if you've got 3 potential career objectives, I'd really encourage you to think about listing strengths, weaknesses, and action goals for at least 2 of them. So you're building yourself a bunch of options for the future. So, okay, that was a quick run through, and I want to give you guys plenty of time to ask questions, and I want to let Todd weigh in and see if anyone else wants to weigh in on my assessment that faculty are very supportive of whatever career path you may want to go down, because this may not be universally true, and I don't want to give you bad advice, but I want to open it up to you all for questions and comments now.
Can you go back to that last slide for 1 second?
Yes, this one?
You're no longer screen sharing.
Oh, sorry. I was stopping screen sharing too fast.
Yes, that one. Thank you.
Button here. Yes, there you go. That one. Sorry, that took me so long. Got to stick with the keynote. Todd, was there anything there that did not sound true for the sciences?
I can weigh in a little bit on this, Tracy, and before I do, I will warn everybody I'm having internet connection problems today, so I apologize for that. Well, first of all, just to let everybody know, I'm in the STEM area. I'm the School of Medicine, so a scientist. So if you have questions that are any of you have questions that are specific, might be more tilted towards technical STEM type careers and how the IDP process interacts with that, I'll be happy to respond to you. Did you just quit sharing your screen?
Yeah,
Okay.
I tried to.
Okay.
There we go.
The other thing I would say, in the Wayne State IDP thing forms that you mentioned, Tracy, I took notes. So I think we can improve the choices, the career choices. And that was, I guess I can take some responsibility for that. It is a very STEM oriented list of careers. So to answer your question, do I agree that faculty members are more open now to non-academic careers? And I agree very strongly with what Dr. Neumann said. The first part being that 25 years ago, that was definitely not the case. We all really only thought about, didn't even really occur to us. We are all training people to work in academics. And that was sort of the breadth of the world for most people then. And it's just totally different now. And in School of Medicine, for example, a fairly small percentage of our PhD graduate students end up in doing what I do. And most of them end up with excellent jobs that simply aren't in the academic research world. And everybody is starting to understand that more. And I think for most people, I'm sure this isn't 100% true, most advisors are mostly interested in making sure their students have successful careers, not that they have the identical career path that they followed themselves. So that's the end of my spiel about that.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that, because that's one of the areas in which the humanities and social sciences, the academic job market is just very dire. And I'm sure it's getting worse in the sciences than it was 25 years ago too, but it's been really shocking. Like I remember one of the faculty members where I was a PhD student who wouldn't sit on committees if she knew the student did not plan on an academic career. When I last saw her, she was very excited to tell me about her student who was just hired at a museum. And I was just, oh, that's only in 10 years, that was not. Yeah. So things have really changed. And I think that there still very much is the feeling that you don't want to admit this to an advisor, which I think can hinder. And it's important to know, if you may have an advisor you shouldn't admit that to, right? And you'll know that. You might be able to find that out legitimately. But if you do want to consider non-academic career paths and your advisor is not willing to support that, that might be a reason to think about moving advisors, which might be different in different departments. But you should feel comfortable thinking about, building a career that will be meaningful for you and let you have the life you want to have. And people just have a lot, as the people in academia have become more diverse, the things that they have to take into account have become more diverse. There are a lot more parents in graduate school than there were 20 years ago. There are a lot more people with elder care responsibilities. There are a lot of people who can't move. They're not mobile. They have a family in Metro Detroit and need to stay here. So yeah, I just really want to encourage you to think as broadly as you want to about careers and use this as a way to do it. And then answer questions.
Yes, I have a question. Would you mind sharing some ways to explore the non-academic options? Like, are there any websites or organizations that you can point us to for exploration?
What field are you in? Can you remind me?
I'm in social work and infant mental health.
You're in social work. I would really recommend looking at that Imagine PhD site. You don't have to take the assessments to look at the career paths, and that will link out to a whole bunch of different things. But something else you might consider, anyone who is doing humanities or social science work, or work even in the sciences that could that involves writing or qualitative analysis. Wayne State has something called the Humanities Clinic that offers paid internships to graduate students and privileges PhD students every summer to go out and work with nonprofits in Detroit. And the idea is you're bringing your particular skill set as a doctoral student in your field to these organizations, but you're gaining professional experience. And so if you're interested in working for a particular type of nonprofit, or if you're interested perhaps in learning about developing educational materials for use not in a traditional classroom, there are a whole host of things you can do. So internships are one really good way to do it, and the Humanities Clinic is nice because it is paid and it's designed specifically for our Wayne State students. But another thing to think about is informational interviews. I am a huge fan of informational interviews. Other people in the history department think I'm insane because we like archives. We don't like talking to people. But I don't know, have any of you, you can use the little hand function. Has anyone ever done an informational interview?
No.
No. So, okay, an informational interview is basically exactly what it sounds like. You reach out to someone who has a job that you think you might like, and you say, would you talk to me about your job? And most people outside of academia who work in professional areas get these requests quite frequently. Like I have a friend who's an architect and he says he does a couple of them a week. And sometimes you'll meet up for coffee. Now it's probably going to be a Zoom or a phone call. And it's a great opportunity to just say like, look, I'm really interested in your organization, the type of work your organization does. I'm really interested in the type of position you have. Can you tell me about your job? How did you get your job? What do you do all day? What kind of skills are important for someone who might want to work in a job like yours? If you could give me advice about, coursework I might want to take to help prepare to work in your field, what would it be? And people are often very generous with their time. This has been, I will say, particularly a lot of our history students are interested in editing and publishing, and those folks have been incredibly generous in talking to our students and helping sort of put them on a path for how they might pursue a career in that field. But yeah, I would suggest starting with those Imagine PhD assessments, or if you don't feel like you have time for the assessments, at least looking at the career families and the career titles and the job titles in them and poking around. Also, I don't know what kind of alumni networks every individual program has, but your alumni of your program are going to be excellent resources because inevitably some of them are going to be working, a lot of them are going to be working outside of academia, and they're going to have stumbled through all of this on their own and have a lot of good advice. And so looking at a list of where people who graduated with your degree from Wayne are working is another good way to just start getting ideas about what kind of jobs people are in.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah, if anyone has other things to add there, please do. Todd or anyone who's attending.
Yeah, I do have something to add. That was a great question, and it really points out one of the difficulties in this whole idea of non-academic careers, and that's that many of the advisors, even if they're very amenable to the idea, don't know that much about other careers, and that's why I think this My IDP and the other IDP package that Dr. Neumann talked about, where you have a chance to enter in your preferences and then get a range of possibilities, is really valuable. And of course, the alumni from your program is a great idea. I would also add that some programs, some colleges, I know we do this at the School of Medicine, we have, we make an effort to at least occasionally bring in people to talk about alternative, this sort of gives you an idea of the point of view, but they're usually referred to as alternative careers. And but they're very valuable, and they're always people right out of, trained the same way we all are, but have done other very rewarding careers and are available to ask questions about. So it's different in different colleges, but some programs do that, and it's worthwhile keeping your eyes open for that.
Any other questions or concerns? How many of you have been through the IDP process before? Are you guys all going to be first timers this year, or?
I'll be a first timer with the graduate school, but I had to do one as a part of Merrill Palmer Skillman Institute. It's a
Okay.
little smaller scale, but it's still an individual development plan for what we are going to be doing throughout the fellowship. So this is a different approach, but at least I had to think about goals and strategic planning for my year for the fellowship.
Yeah. So a couple of you have done it, but this will be new, new to most of you. Yeah, I think the IDP, I don't know, others may remember when we introduced this, but it's been in the past 5 or 6 years, I think, that it's been rolled out for everyone.
right.
Yeah, and so I think even advisors are not quite sure what to do with it, particularly advisors who don't have a lot of PhD students. You know, every once in a while you'll get someone who still hasn't seen this form and doesn't know what it's for. So one of the things that I encourage you to do is talk to your advisor before you fill out the IDP. And that's partially because the advisors will often just sign the form, right, without putting much feedback there. And so it's good to use it as a point of discussion in advance or after you filled it out. But yeah, it is hard, right, when you're brand new in the program to fill it out straight away. Actually, I'm curious, do they have to do that your first year in your program? But you wouldn't fill that out because you're doing it for the previous year, right? You wouldn't have to fill it out until your second year.
Yeah,
So my program did tell us to.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't
it's
know why, but they
variable
did.
by program.
Oh, it
Yeah.
is. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was just like, oh, wow, maybe I told my student the wrong thing. It's the wrong thing, because I was like, there's no point in doing this. You've been here 2 weeks. Yeah. So it is a tough thing to do when you're brand new to the program. And it's harder when it becomes much easier when you're out of coursework, I think, and working on a dissertation project to think through this stuff.
But I think it's a valuable exercise, even early on, it depends on your personality, but in some cases, my own, for example, I was very content as an early graduate student to not even think about my career farther down the path and just concentrate on the immediate goals of my research project. And that's a mistake. And if there's a way to sort of get you involved right away in thinking about, why am I here? What is it I want to do? And then once you have a better grip on that, am I doing the right things in my program to get me in that direction? I think it's worthwhile. But yeah, I think most programs, it's the second year that they start the IDP.
Yeah.
I think that's a very great point. When we were required to take I can't remember the title of it, but it's the graduate school class to prepare us for research to be compliant. That's the 0 credit class. I think it was important to implement something of this nature during that time and to allow students to access like the imaginephd.com and start the thinking process even before the first year of the PhD begins, because coming in as a graduate certificate student, I was already taking classes, but never got oriented to what am I going to do with this PhD journey and my career, because I didn't consider these questions, and now I'm in the throes of courses and don't have the brain space to stop and think about my future. So this might be something to integrate into that process of even having students take at least even look at the website and fill out those initial forms to begin thinking. So when they meet with the advisor for the first time, now they have something to come to the table with, at least an understanding of what they're trying to accomplish.
That's a great suggestion. Yeah, thank you for that. And we've talked about sort of incorporating that course you're talking about, is the responsible conduct of research course, with more of an orientation that's a little more general, the skills you need to get through graduate school, than and expanding it. And that got put on the side table during COVID. So maybe we will be revisiting that. It's a great idea. Thank you.
Yes, that would be an amazing addition. Thank you.
That's an excellent idea. Yeah, no, Todd, you're right. Like I was the same way in grad school. Like it's, you're so focused on trying to make it through coursework and then trying to get your dissertation up and running. Everything else feels peripheral. And it's so easy to, I think one of the things that is different now about graduate school than even, I finished in 2011, which feels like not that long ago to me, but I guess it's quite some time ago now, is there was not much focus, nobody was focusing on student mental health. Nobody, unless, there was a crisis, nobody was focusing on any sort of like holistic notion of you're here getting a degree to build a career, and a career is part of your life. Your career isn't your whole life. Or it could be, like maybe you want your career to be your whole life, that's fine, you get to make that decision. But for most people, that's not. And if you're traditionally aged in graduate school, right, if you start within a few years of undergrad, there's a pretty good chance you're going to end up partnered. You may have children, you may find you have aging parents. You may develop like a friend circle that's really important to you in the city where you're in graduate school and not be willing to leave it. Like there are a whole bunch of things that happen over the very long period at which people are in graduate school that may make you change your mind about what you want to do. And so thinking about it early and often, basically, and revisiting that every year and thinking, is this still, well, I was on this, it's very easy to get on a path and stay on it, right? So it's like, I'm on this trajectory and these were the things I needed to do to get to the end point that I had in mind when I started. But 4 years in, is that still the end point I want? And if it's not, how do I change course or add things? And I think particularly for those of you who are still in coursework, it's really important to think about, and this is, different programs are going to be very different in terms of the flexibility for taking electives outside of the department or that sort of thing. But it could be very useful. I was talking to Nick actually right before the seminar started about our graduate students in public history, because he teaches a social media class in the business school, and museums, our students mainly go to work, a lot of them go work in museums, they all need people who know about social media. And so I was asking if I could send my students to take his class. And so, it may be that there are these kinds of classes that are offered that you can just take as part of your coursework here, depending on your field and if that fits in. Like in history, you can take 3 classes outside of history. I'm guessing in engineering, you do not get to do that, right? So it depends on your program. But yes, Nick says everyone should come join the MBA level social media class. And if you want to be a faculty member somewhere, I actually highly recommend getting some experience in marketing, development, and social media, because you will be doing that in a degree you do not expect to be doing that in almost all faculty jobs now. But that is an aside. So yeah, like I think that, it's really useful. And I really appreciate Wayne State's focus on kind of thinking about career planning more generally, as opposed to just ticking off the boxes of the degree requirements you need to proceed through the program. And I was a skeptic at first. This very much did look to me. The first couple I got from my students, I wrote no comments. I just was like, whatever, I just signed it. I don't even think I read the IDP part because I didn't understand it. And then I learned a bit more about it, and my professional organization was promoting the Imagine PhD website. And once I sort of figured that out, I figured out how this could be a useful tool. And so now I drive the history students crazy by giving them a version of this spiel every time. Yes, good point, Nick. Shameless self-promotion is important for all career paths. So any other questions about the IDP or the annual review, or just general questions about career resources, or any concerns you may have about, I guess this is being recorded, so we probably shouldn't ask you if you have concerns about your specific advisor. Though I would encourage you could come to me, or I imagine you could go to Todd as well. Feel comfortable if you have those kinds of concerns about your particular situation and need some help navigating them. Please feel free to reach out to someone at the grad school, or to me.
Absolutely.
For advice. Yeah, right. Do not say them openly in a recorded meeting, actually, now that I remembered we're recording. But if you do have sort of general concerns about that, or anxieties about that, or wondering how you're going to fit it all in, these sorts of things, or if you have advice to offer your fellow attendees, please do. I'm hoping this means it was a more straightforward process than you guys were expecting.
Maybe so.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions for Todd or Tracy or anybody else? I'm actually finishing a little before time today after the last two went a little over. So everybody gets a couple minutes back. And yeah, feel free to reach out to, obviously, to Tracy or Todd, like they said, and or the graduate school too. We are here to help as well. The PhD office can answer any lingering questions that may be out there as you go through your IDP process. And remember, this isn't something that you have to do right this second. The deadline's not for a while, but it's good to start thinking about it right now. So, so to answer Kevin's question in the chat, I'll be uploading this to YouTube today. We'll send out a thank you email tomorrow along with a survey on the event. So definitely share your feedback, and if you have any thoughts on, there's other things that you're wondering about that you wish that there would be more of a kind of a support system around, or events like this specifically around your larger program, your larger doctoral program, feel free to put that into the survey. We're always looking for new event ideas, and the professional development series is continuing to grow. And at the same time, we're also looking for other more administrative things that we can help straighten out and help make a little bit more straightforward. That's something that was the original, really the birth of the PDS series started with some of those events. There was a welcome to graduate school event. We've had other events that are about things that deal with your research. So definitely feel free to share any of your ideas either in the survey, or you can reach out to, again, myself or anybody else in the graduate school. So thank you everybody for attending. Tracy or Todd, do you have any last parting words before we wrap up?
I don't. I thank you all for attending. And I just reiterate, if you do have questions or concerns about anything related to this, you can get a hold of us at the graduate school, either through the PhD office or any of us directly, and we'll be happy to try to help you out.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. And yeah, you can look for this tomorrow. We'll be sending out a thank you email. And hope to see you next time at our next professional development series event next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. See you.